Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason, and I'm here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Vernon, Texas. And today's report is for October the 16th through October the 22nd, 2024. Welcome to the show, everybody, or the report. It's a show. I'm showing you things. We start with our sun. The sun, uh, we have a coronal hole, which is just leaving center disk. So a coronal hole stream should be reaching Earth or magnetically connected Earth. And so, with the coronal holes, as you remember, as I always tell you, that's going to be more of a compression of energy, right? So it might be a heaviness or a compactness where you feel like you're moving through slightly thicker plasma. I don't want to say it's like stuck in the sand or in the mud, but it is a slower going, right? So it's like running on dirt or grass or running in sand, right? So it's just that slight little bit of difficulty that's added with that pressure of energy. Sometimes that compression is cleansing, right? Like if you're going to wring out a rag and get it a little cleaner, right? So sometimes you can use that energy of the coronal hole stream to release some things. Over the past day or so, we have had some minor M class solar flares with some small CMEs that were released that are going to be glancing blows, right? And of course, CMEs are triggering of mood episodes, right? So if you have any kind of thing on a spectrum where you're have a mania, maybe it's um, depression, right? So you might have a trigger of that. Um, a lot of times they're associated with people with heart issues already, right? It might feel like an anxiety, a palpitation. And then also, solar flares are correlated, is a good word, with the flare up in chronic diseases like a lupus or something like that. You might have a flare up, arthritis, and stuff like that. So pay attention for that to be happening. Don't manifest it, but like if you're having those symptoms already, you can attribute those to being triggered or at least increased in their intensity by the sun's activity. Those minor CMEs will probably be impacting over the weekend, right? So not necessarily today those CMEs are going to be affecting you, but when those glancing blows, and it shouldn't produce all those exciting auroras, right? They should be minor impacts, so we're not expecting the red auroras coming all the way down to South Texas, or even I think last week when they were at their most intense, I think people saw auroras even in northern South America. So that's cool. Um, cool stuff in the sky. Which comets are nice to see, but the large comet Atlas, which you should be able to see in the night sky with the naked eye, and its tail, which would be the cool part. To me, sometimes it sort of looks like a broken up Starlink, but nonetheless, I believe if you look in, I think it's when you look at the south, towards the south, is where you see it just after sunset here in the west. I don't know about other parts of the planet because I don't live there. I apologize. Um, but yeah, Atlas is a once every 80,000 years comet, right? So cool little fun facts. In some ancient societies, 80,000 years was considered the age of gods, right? That was immortality. So just an FYI, the ending of things that have godlike power might be something that sort of comes cyclically with this Atlas comet. Uh, I wasn't alive 80,000 years ago, and recorded history isn't that old. So usually we get into fossil records and all kinds of things which weren't advanced societies, but probably not true. There probably have been advanced societies on the planet the entire time. So yeah, every 80,000 years is when this comet comes by. So just sort of think of things that have godlike power, like government, like structure, right? And this goes along with the shifting of the poles and everything, right? The timing is what it is, right? So not a doomsday prophecy. It's just sort of like when structures fall away. It's because maybe they've lived out their time, and what is something that can continue on, right? What is the all new, not the rebranding or restructuring or repackaging of what we've known, but something entirely new. So cool times, and also cool to see a comet in the sky. with the naked eye, so that you're not trusting uh, computer rendered telescopes to tell you what things look like or where things are. All right. Moves us into the current zodiac. I was like, there's a lot to say about that, but that would be a whole show. So moving right along, we are currently in the zodiac of Libra, and of course, physically, the triggers of the sun and all these shifts will sort of alchemically, right? There's an alchemical match in the body of what these zodiac signs of the where the sun is and its solar traveling. The Libra matches with our kidneys and our adrenals, which right here, and then bladder, right? So that's a lot of excretion. That's a lot of releasing of stress. You might have times or reorganizations of your sleep schedules with that. So pay attention to that. But this week, by the end of the week, we will be moving into Scorpio. And so Scorpio is really associated with the ganglia or the nerve cluster at the base of the spine, sometimes called the sacral chakra, right? So depending on whether you're looking at the front, all the chakras are really going to be oriented along the spine. And so yeah, those nerves that we're going to sort of, and so those nerves also, for a reference, the main nerve that most people that are having problems with nerves or the lower back is the sciatic nerve, and so that is part of the ganglia at the base of the spine that is sort of reactive to that, right? So if you might have a triggering or a tingle down in the sciatica, that might be because we're moving into the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Also, the tailbone or the coccygeal, however you say that name, um, at the base of the spine. And then, of course, Scorpio is also related to all of the sexual glands that sort of produce hormones to have sex with. There you go. So pay attention to that. A lot of times that can move into a two things. It could move into a dysfunction, which is the less likely. It's more likely to move into a higher function or a desire to use those glands during the Scorpio season, which is why you get a lot of people, hey, it's wintertime, it's fall, and you have a lot of these spring, summer babies. Oh my goodness, it's like the sun and or the rhythm and or the vibrations that we live in drive how we live. Anywho, moving right along. We are currently in 5 retrogrades. Those retrogrades moved in and out, got out of Zoom. Oops. I got out of Zoom while I was on Zoom. Anywho, out of focus would be the better word. Anyway, we are in Saturn retrograde. And that's really going to be triggering your ability to be patient with the divine's timing. And or if you want to, instead of going, oh God, when, starting to look for God already acting, right? And that would be like this mystical timing, synchronicities. That's the kind of energy that Saturn can bring. Neptune is in retrograde. That's really about your spiritual path, right? So if you've had a lot of shifts, which this report talks about, there's been a lot of shifts over the last couple of weeks, right? Then how is your spiritual path, or how can you take that growth into a spiritual understanding? And really, Neptune sort of helps you merge the personality. I'm Jason. I was born in Texas. I graduated this kind of university. I had these kind of degrees and these kinds of career moves, right? That's the personality that I've sort of built, right? And then there's the soul Jason, right? And so you really want to thought. You really want to carry the thought or think about that those things are in a merge, right? And so what, rather than the small self being deleted, it's more like it's being absorbed, right? So it's being encompassed by this larger self. And so the soul's merging with the personality. That's a fun time during Neptune. That might bring a fearful stuff, right? The point of view is necessarily needed to be carefully examined because the personality doesn't want to die, right? And so this isn't a death. This is an expansion by being subsumed by it. You want to think of this as a corporate takeover of somebody who can do and make your job easier. There you go. I think that's a good way to look at that. Thanks, Neptune retrograde. Chiron retrograde. really is going to continue to work on old patterns, right? And these are going to be patterns, sort of like I said, the small self was sort of governed by where I was born, how I was educated, and who I was around, right? Those old patterns are really created by those, right? And so um, you want to use this time to sort of see those patterns and then value yourself outside of the patterns or the judgment that those patterns brought, right? Oh, I didn't live up to these patterns that were for the small self, right? And so this is self value. Are you worthy of the soul merge? Is the energy that Chiron brings. Uranus, um, this is really an opening up to what's possible, right? I sort of mentioned, I think, around the Atlas thing about structures falling, right? So this is what else is possible, what else is in the realm, right? And so this is not a rebuilding. This is Uranus is helping us go. What is something all new, right? And so if we talk about ancient societies and these high societies that some people will quote as the Atlanteans or um, the Egyptians, Lemurians, all that fun stuff, Tartarians, all those kinds of things for high patterns. What else is possible, right? We're not trying to revert back to how Egypt did it, although they have great things to tell us. We're not trying to revert back to how the Lemurians did it or Atlanteans. We're trying to create something all new. So that's the energy of Uranus. Uh, and then that leads us to our final retrograde, which is Jupiter. And Jupiter is really in our existence about career moves, right? Um, Practicing abundance, right? So Jupiter brings big things because big planet, right? So abundance is about being in receptivity, right? Not about creativity necessarily or forcing or money generation. It's really about allowing the universe to gift you what's already there, not necessarily having to pull money or abundance out of thin air. Fun times. Moving right along, that leads us into our daily reports. We move into today, Wednesday. Today is really the beginning of the end. We're all gonna die. No, this is the beginning of the end of this last 5 or 6 month period, right? So what are we in? We're in October, so that brings us back to March, April. Um, yeah, that's about right. March, April kind of energy. Like how much have we shifted since then? And really, the shift this year has been twofold, which may be why all the good shit that's been happening seems hard. And so that's really been sort of challenging your body um, to sort of maintain or contain or use a higher vibration, a higher octave, right? So it's almost like hearing a high pitch and trying to extend, like if this is a singing thing, right? If we are a voice and somebody's singing higher than we're capable of, right? This has been like that difficulty of training our voice to come to that vibration, right? So, but that's been a whole body experience that's been going on, and so that energy is sort of coming, I'll say coming to conclusion, but really sort of summing up today, the 16th. And then also those sort of spiritual or soul challenges. What the hell is the nature of reality? What has living in a different reality or a reality that wasn't what we didn't turn out to be what we were told it was? Have we wasted those years or have we actually come to the exact same place where our soul actually wants us to be, right? So you want to think about those kinds of things that are going on today. Um, or I'll say coming to completion, but they're really coming to a pinnacle, right? Where maybe you can take a little bit of rest. Maybe it's time to take a breath and go, oh, I've actually made it a pretty far away. And then, of course, if you're sort of feeling judgmental or tired out, or maybe even a little bit angry about, having to do all this work, I'm almost 50. It's like, come on, man. I thought I was going to learn everything I know by the time I was 18 and got out of high school, right? And so, sort of coloring that energy would be Venus today. And so, Venus is going to help you sort of see that through the lenses of divine love, right? That this is done for our benefit, and we were only as awake as we needed to be when we were awake, and everybody's got a plan, and soul is on it, and it's going to be fine. All right, so go, yeah, it's totally going to be fine. Everything's great. Here on October the 16th, 2024. Moves us into tomorrow, 10/17. Full super moon. And it's the superest of super. Or it's not the superest of super. It's the superest super moon of 2024, right? So that means when we're saying super moon, it just means that the uh, moon on its ellipsis is at its closest point to the Earth, right? So moon, Earth, it goes like this, right? So it's not like, oh, it's here, it's there. Um, the biggest supermoon, largest of the year, and it really marks the actual end of the post eclipse. So end of eclipse season is on Thursday. And so you really want to look back, most importantly, to sort of see the biggest change is look back to like early September and everything that sort of shifted in your life. Like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work or if that's going to work, or, I don't know what's happening to my body. Sort of maybe you have a knowledge or a handle on something that might be physically going awry, or you've got a better understanding of stuff that you're like, why is this happening? Or not again, kind of energy of the beginning of September. You're going to sort of have resolution of that tomorrow, Thursday. Friday. Um, think of all the Friday 10, 18, October the 18th. Um, think of all of the energies ending as, oh, there we go. I was like, what the hell's happening? I was like, what did I write? That's really good, but I can't remember what it was. Um, think of all these energies ending as people know what racing and pit stops are, right? So just imagine that at pit stops, you're fixing all the problems, you're working on the car, right? It feels like this anxious time. I got to hurry up and do it. I got to get back on the track, right? And so just sort of think of this eclipse season as being that kind of energy. And really, Friday is they got all the tires on and they've dropped you off the jacks, and now it's time to hit the gas and get back on the track. So that's the kind of energy you're feeling that you're really going to be feeling on Friday. Leads us into Saturday, October the 19th. Really, Saturday, you want to spend your time thinking, how are you going to complete the race, right? So, are you going to burn out your tires? How are you going to conserve fuel? Uh, who's, who are you really racing against? Is there anybody else on the track? Um, the nature of reality stuff, right? What does it mean to complete the race, and what does it mean for you to participate in that race, right? And so sometimes this is just the resolve to I'm going to finish the race, right? Even if all the even if all the tires fall off my car, I'm still gonna drive around the track and keep going, right? So it's that how are you going to do the race, and then as you sort of determine or understand that the race is going to be completed no matter what, then you can start to manage the how, right? When the how arrives, rather than spending the energy of worry about, well, what happens on turn 35 of the 85th lap and somebody cuts me off, right? Don't worry about that. Or don't worry about no money for extra fuel, or you've got too small of a gas. None of that stuff, right? Just I'm going to complete the race or I'm not going to complete the race would be the energy to sort of think about on Saturday. Sunday, once you've completed all that thinking about, well, how am I going to run this race? You really, on 10/20 is an 11 master day. And that's just a numerological understanding of how you write the date, totals to an 11. Um, really is, the idea of the spiritual life. Everybody's, oh, it's 11/11. The energy is flowing, right? So on an 11 master day, it really is, you are closest to your own energy vibration, and you can use that to master basically understanding of yourself. And so when you understand yourself, it's kind of like um, both people can have the same car, but the one who understands the car better is going to drive faster and drive more efficiently. So this is really about a mastering of the self and driving who you are and what you've decided is your mission or what your spiritual journey is. Driving that to its best ability is what happens on master days. Leads us into Monday, 10/21. We have the peak of the Orion, whatever. In Orion, there's some meteor showers towards the Orion constellation, and they're peaking on the 21st. And so you just want to think of meteor showers as epiphanies, as ideas, right? And so associated with the Orionids, is the idea of determination, right? So you're really going to sort of find your resolve or your potential to find resolve. You don't have to do this. This isn't a schedule. This isn't a calendar. This is your life. But on Monday, the energy of the cosmos that we share, it is ideal or more ideal to have epiphanies about how you're actually going to complete the job, right? So determination um, arises or rise, has a higher flow. How about that? I don't know. Sounds weird. It's weird being back in the shop. Being gone for a week was like, oh, I'm a whole different life. Anyway, moving right along leads us into the last day of this report, Tuesday the 22nd of October. You want to really sort of feel that the healing of all of your questions of the last 6 months sort of happens, right? You can sort of feel like, hey, I'm on the mend. uh Sometimes you want to think that this is a workout, like this is like you know, you had a recovery day, day two you're kind of sore. This is kind of like, hey, this soreness, this effort has turned into growth, right? And maybe that means you go to your next workout and you're stronger. Maybe that sort of means you can see you look better in the mirror, better on the scale, right? So this is that sort of spiritual identity healing. Like, who am I? Like, if I'm talking about myself, you know, what is the measure of who Jason is, right? And has the effort sort of led to a sort of healing of things that weren't functioning as highly as I would like, or that were functioning at a lower, let's say, octave level dimension of my potential, right? So that's what sort of comes. And of course, that comes on the heels of or that comes with Scorpio moving into the solar sign Scorpio on Tuesday, the 22nd, right? And we talked about where that is. It's really sometimes those nerve clusters around there are associated with the idea of Kundalini, right? And so Kundalini awakening, right? The healing of the energy field, the turning back on of the machinery, all those kinds of things could be sort of associated with that. But also the understanding of healing venom, right? There's plenty of myths that revolve around the healing nature of the venom of poisonous or difficult things, right? So just think about the stinger of the scorpion being necessary for healing or having the ability to heal. Right. So this is like, hey, the sting was actually something that caused you to expand into more that you may or may not have done without the trials and tribulations of life. Yeah, so that that's the end of the report. It feels like I was talking forever. I don't know if I was, but if I was, enjoy the long report. It's good to be back. This is Jason. I'm here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki, newdimensionscrystals.com. If you want to book yourself a session, like, subscribe, and share. I always appreciate being able to give this message to more and more people because I like the message and I think it's effective for all of us. So until next week, everybody, many blessings. Hitting.